There's new hyperlocal Ann Arbor library lot drama, and this time it involves a complaint filed against the Library Green Conservancy with the Michigan Department of State Bureau of Elections. If you've seen any mailers or ads like this one, or this one, or this one, or this one, all of those were paid for by the Library Green Conservancy. Now, the backstory that you need to know is that registered 501c3 nonprofits cannot engage in lobbying. What that means is if a nonprofit spends more than $500 in a calendar year to influence voters, either for or against whatever is on the ballot, the organization has to register as this thing called a ballot question committee. The basis of this complaint is that the Library Green Conservancy, which is a 501c3 organization, is in violation of the Michigan Campaign Finance Act by having spent over $500 on campaign advocacy related to the ballot question without having registered as a ballot question committee and without having discussed their expenditures. Basically, it's saying that the Library Green Conservancy is not a registered ballot question committee, but that the language in all of the mailers and ads amounts to influencing and even outright telling people to vote no on Proposition A and B. And that, they spent a lot of money to do it. And we do know how much the Library Green Conservancy spent in total because they released a campaign finance report on their website last week. And it states that $7,000 was used for advertisement in the Ann Arbor Observer, $52,000 was spent for printing, postage, and mailing services for flyers sent to Ann Arbor voters. They go on to justify this expense saying, as a 501c3 nonprofit, all volunteer organization, the Library Green Conservancy is permitted to engage in education about the ballot questions. So, you tell me, does this sound like education or does it sound like influencing voters? Quote, proposals A and B are not needed to replace the downtown library. Quote, Proposals A and B would allow the sale of valuable downtown public land for $1 for private development. Proposals A and B would overturn the will of the majority of 2018 voters. Quote, proposals A and B are not needed for a new library. Quote, proposals A and B are misleading. Quote, you can vote against proposals A and B and still get a new library. Quote, the park we voted for is under attack. Quote, proposals A and B are the first step toward the goal to sell our parks and parkland to high-rise building developers. Included in the complaint are screenshots from next door of Tom Weeder, counsel for the Library Green Conservancy, potentially admitting that Library Green Conservancy spent the money as part of the No campaign. Now, the Library Green Conservancy board has determined, quote, that it is appropriate to use funds contributed by Ann Arborites to defend the vision of a downtown park that voters approved in 2018. And if we look at the Library Green Conservancy's articles of incorporation, it says that they will seek to, quote, raise funds to support the design, construction, and maintenance of this public open space and encourage active use of the space for a variety of publicly beneficial activities. And as you can see, political advocacy is not listed as a reason for fundraising. That $59,000 that the Library Green Conservancy spent in total for these mailers and advertisements was meant to fund a planning effort for a park. And the Library Green Conservancy raised $70K from private donors, and the city then had allocated $40K for planning the park. The Library Green Conservancy is now also in a public relations crisis. Quote, Library Green Conservancy has lost my trust. They raised tens of thousands of dollars from us to build a park, and instead they spent it on political campaign. Repercussions, if this complaint goes through, or that Library Green Conservancy could lose their nonprofit status, which is a bad thing. You don't want to do that if you're a nonprofit. We don't know. We'll have to see how the complaint is handled by the state. I asked Andrew Robbins, who filed this complaint, why he felt compelled to take this step. And he said, well, I was on Nextdoor, a mistake, I know, and saw Tom making these admissions outright. As a fan of the library, it didn't sit right with me that these people were spending money they claim is for a park on preserving a parking lot. Also, given the aggressive and misleading mailers, I think it would have been to the benefit of the public if the law was complied with and donors' names were public. Aside from that, I think the documents speak for themselves, really. Voting for Proposition A and B ends August 5th, but stick around because you and I will be discussing whatever the election results are and any other Ann Arbor library lot drama that appears. Until then,